Adam, welcome to the show. So for those of you who don't know, Adam Whitney, it's kind of weird talking to myself when there's like, I can see you guys there. So I'm going to have to try something new today. So Adam and I first met like two and a half years ago. And we met, well, actually in person in California. He's one of the few people I got to hang out with in San Diego. We first met and he owned a few properties and then he got into wholesaling. And now he has $100,000 a month wholesaling machine while active duty as a Marine. He speaks at events. He's does coaching and accountability for, I mean, I don't know how, like, I get on stage and talked about being efficient and effective and not making excuses when you have a W-2. And I got nothing on this dude. He's probably rolling a solid 20 hours, maybe 30 hours a week more in his quote side hustle than I was at the end of being active duty. So that's my short intro to Adam. He's a active duty Marine. He's a fucking badass all the way around. And if you don't know who he is, you just haven't been around the community long enough because you'll see him eventually. Welcome to the show, man.
Welcome to the Military Millionaire Podcast, where we teach service members, veterans, and their families how to build wealth through personal finance, entrepreneurship, and real estate investing. I'm your host, David Pere, and together with my co-host, Alex Felice, we're here to be your no BS guides along the most important mission you'll ever embark on, your finances.
Vehicle 1, you're clear to depart friendly lines.
Roger, Vic 1, Oscar Mike. Hey guys, if you're looking to take your investing, business, life, or just yourself to the next level, then I have something for you. The War Room Real Estate Military Mastermind Group is a mastermind group that meets weekly in small groups of 5 to 6 people to help you hold yourself accountable and really experience that growth. But we also have a monthly guest speaker that we bring in, and we've had guest speakers that talk about mindfulness, taxes. We're bringing in somebody to talk about marketing. We bring in very specific topics that will adhere to very broad, any kind of real estate investing or entrepreneurship that you want to do, and will really help you out. And we let you ask these speakers questions and get very personal with them. And then back to the small groups, weekly accountability for what you're trying to achieve, and just being surrounded by like-minded people. And they say your network is your net worth. I know that's an overused phrase, but I recommend that you check it out. So just shoot an email to wrmastermind@gmail.com. Once again, that's wrmastermind@gmail.com, and we'll send you some more information.
Hey man, thanks for having me. I'm glad to come on here and banter with you guys. I'd say thanks for that intro, but the reality is I do probably 3 or 4 full-time jobs, and I'm average at best at each of them. So that's the trick to doing more. Just be average.
Oh, perfect. I don't know how to take that.
I'm surprised you think you're that good.
Yeah, I was waiting for that from you, Alex. Yeah, I'm probably not, honestly. Maybe I'm average at one of them and below average at the rest.
As long as your fit reps are, hourglass, you're good.
Yeah.
As long as your boss thinks you're awesome, then.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to chat with you guys, man. And I'm excited, hopefully, to talk about something that's worthwhile for the audience, which, since Alex is here, I doubt we'll do that.
I'm here to entertain. If you came to learn something, you done messed up.
And that's the standard we set for the show, guys. It's on the floor. So
I got a question for you.
Under-deliver, over-impress.
You've already been on the show, Adam, haven't you?
No, this is Adam's first time. Well, unless we count as like part of a show.
Long-time listener, first time caller.
Do we have to interview him? Can we just hang out?
We could let him give like a 2-minute,
okay, starts right now. Go.
What people care
starts
about.
Right now, go.
2-minute intro?
Yeah.
Whatever you think people should know about you.
Minute 30 now.
Okay. Well, first, obviously, like Dave said, I am an active duty Marine, 17 years into the service. Started seriously investing in real estate in 2017. Spent a lot of time doing learning and reading and following some of these smart guys like Alex and Dave to figure out what the path was, and really just picked a path and dove headfirst in it. Last October, I wanted, in the military, we can't really make more money. It's like you just kind of wait your turn to make more money, which sucks. So I was looking at ways to generate capital faster. I knew nothing about flipping or wholesaling properties. And last October, I just decided, you know what, I'm going to try that. And I jumped in 2 feet in, and I spent 6 months floundering, which is pretty typical for things I do. And finally got some traction, got a deal. One deal went to 10 deals, and then 10 deals went to me being a co-owner of Blackjack Real Estate, which was already an established company, a bit of a cheat code. And they were doing 100 to 200 deals a year. When I took it over, we weren't doing that, but that's what we're growing back to at this time. So that's kind of where I'm at. Southeast markets investing. I own rentals in Milwaukee. I've never seen any property I've ever transacted in my life.
You say starting into a company that's already existing is a cheat code, and I recently did something similar. How do you feel? Is that now in retrospect of my real estate investing career, I think that's like kind of the way to go. I think I don't want to take your intro thunder, but for me, there's definitely like a lot of ego where I'm like, I'm going to go do this thing. I'm going to make this thing of mine. And then you got to spend a lot of time learning, and you make a lot of mistakes that have been made by a million people before you, and you learn how to do it yourself. And then you start to get a little good, and you're like, oh, I need more people, more resources, more knowledge, more sophistication. And now it's either like I need to hire those people, which is a whole other set of complexity in and of itself, or I can check the ego instead of making my own thing and go join like a higher level tier team now that I have some of that experience, and get back to learning, get back to growing I'm kind of just projecting what I did, but it sounds like something what you did as well. How do you feel about it in retrospect if you had known at the start where you're like, maybe I'll go join something from the get-go?
Yeah, I think the key word you said is ego, right? Because we want it to be ours. We wanted to be the one to grow it. It's easy to see social media and go, well, wow, look at these guys and their Ferraris and they're doing really great. But I think the reality is we're all trying to like get out of our 9-to-5 job into entrepreneurship, which is like a 5 a.m. to 9 p.m. job, right? So
I want to quit my 9-to-5 so I can work 24/7.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of that lately on the internet, but I think that's akin to the reality. That's what it takes, in my opinion, especially from somebody who's not skilled or intelligent. Like I have to grind to get it to where it needs to be, to eventually the hope that one day it's providing something for me that gives me the freedom. But to more directly answer your question, Alex, I saw it as, first I had to check my ego. 2, I just had to look at the deal. Like what's the risk in the deal and joining this team, and what's the upside to it? And obviously it's clear the upside is like, it's already established. You don't have to do that whole 1 to 2 years of that. Like I'm skipping 2 years worth of work, and now I'm just at a different level. It's still work.
More than 2 years, because the company might have been built 2 years, but it was built with the operator experience that went into that was far more.
Well, it was really 5 years. Blackjack Real Estate's been around since 2016 doing deals. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Like my partner, Bill Allen, all the learning he did and all the stuff he put into it, even just leading up to that.
Yes. So I made a YouTube video about my transition. That sounds weird these days. My
He's
getting
off
a job
hormones now.
Yeah. That sounds weird nowadays. I made a YouTube video, and it was something like, dude, I'm 38. I can go join another company, and I can literally work for this company for 20 years and then start my own company, because I have so much. I'm going to live to 120. I don't know if you know this. So like I have so much time. And I think a lot of people, myself included, like I got wrapped up in this, like, oh, I've already done a lot of this on my own. I don't want to go do something with somebody else. But the reality is, I'm like, actually, I can, if I really want to scale, if I really want to get good at life, there's an immense amount more to learn. And I'm just now scratching the surface on what I learned. And I learned a lot of my own. And so I look at, when you say like it's a cheat code, I'm like, yeah, it is a cheat code. It's the one that a lot more people should take.
I just figured out I got like 3 years until I know everything. So I don't know why it's going to take you so long.
It's interesting, Alex. I think, Jay Scott made a post or said something about this recently. You either have money, time, skills, or knowledge, and you're trading one of those 4 things for this monetary benefit for you to get where you want to go. And, you said I'm 38 years old, but you've amassed all this skill and knowledge over that time, which makes you a valuable asset, which allows you to jump to that position where you just entered, right? Because, you spend time in the banking world and you've got your finance skills really sharp. You've been doing real estate for a long time. So you just made yourself an asset that allows you to do that. And I think that's, you can't really, so if I'm a brand new investor and I'm listening to Dave Pere and the Military to Millionaire, and I'm thinking, well, I'm just going to go join a bigger company and take it over, or I'm just going to go join a bigger team. You've got to be able to bring some type of value.
Yep.
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, David, please.
Oh, you're good. I was just gonna say, yeah, you gotta either be able to provide a ton of knowledge or a ton of time, right? To be able to save the other guy time.
If I could provide, well, I have two questions. One, I was going to ask, what did Adam trade, right? What did Bill say? Hey, Adam, this is the right guy. And so the second piece is kind of fitting into that, which is like, I looked at, the company I joined, Climb Capital. I'm like, you know what they have? They have a really, really, really great team that's almost complete. And the gap in their skills is perfectly Alex shaped. And so it worked out well in that regard. And so I guess not to push back, but to elaborate further on what you said, it's like you have to bring skills, but you have to not just bring skills, but it's like, if I want to go work for David Pere or go take over some company, it's like, they better need what you got, but everybody's got something. And so what has Adam got?
Part of it is timing too, right? Like that Climb Capital, they're at the point they need that Alex shaped thing. And for Bill and Blackjack, he was moving in a direction and would have had to kind of regress his progress to come back and take care of Blackjack the way it needed to go. I happened to be on a glide path and starting to get traction and doing well. Like he's here and I'm here and I'm going in that direction. He was about to have to come backwards and was like, hey, I can't do that. What are my options? Well, I can take this guy who is just like I was 5 or 6 years ago, and he's going to put in the work, right? So like he's seeing my work ethic. He's seeing me put in the time and the learning and gaining the knowledge and the skills. So I think it was easy for him to go, yeah, that idiot down there, that was me 5 years ago doing that grind. That guy, he's not going to stop until he wins. I'm going to sign him up, see if he wants this opportunity. And honestly, for me, it was a no risk opportunity, right? Like I was already on that path, and he said, here's a thing that's built. It's yours. Work really hard and do good. Like, okay, cool. Thanks.
So actually I think to me, what I hear, because this is the way my brain works, is I hear network, because the person you need, the person with the listener who's sitting there, whatever your name is, like whatever your shaped hole in the company, like they're looking for you. You just need to be looking for them. And so when the universe says you guys need each other, you have to always be putting in those networking seeds so that this is why I do so much content, so people can find me. So people say, oh my God, that's the guy that I've been looking for. If you're, quiet and reserved and not making any connections, you're just lurking on the internet. It's like, dude, nobody knows you are the right fit for what they need. So a lot of it is being out there, being loud, kind of making posts, doing podcast appearances, making content, showing up in these communities, adding value.
Yeah. And being consistent doing those things, right? Or doing everything you're doing, because how many people do we see, they kind of show up in the social media world, or they start a website or they start a YouTube channel, and then you don't see them 6 months later because they realize like the consistent work you have to put in. So you're absolutely right, Alex. You gotta, people need to know who you are and what you're doing for opportunities to open up for you.
Yeah. They say the average podcast doesn't make it past like 22 episodes. Right.
I quit 2 podcasts.
Alex, I had a question on this puzzle piece theory. As an employer, do you have to take the person that fits that hole? And if so, how do I avoid growing to a size where I get stuck with you?
Wait, you are stuck with me. I don't know what the rephrase the question.
I just want to make sure that I never end up with a puzzle piece that's Alex shaped. That's all I'm saying.
I think people, I'll say something. This is kind of pseudoscience, which I generally hate pseudoscience, but everybody should go off and take a bunch of those personality tests because they provide a lot of insight into who we are. They're grossly overused. and they can box people in. But if you know you're an introvert or an extrovert, that matters. If you know you're a creative type, high in openness, if you know you have high conscientiousness and a high work ethic, these are good things to know, and to know what you aren't. Because I looked at Jeremy's team and I'm like, okay, you got 3 people. If you look at the, one of the personality tests is the Deloitte business chemistry test. And it's like a 4-segment piece. And it's like, they got 3 and I'm the other 4. And it turns out all of us are strong in our areas. Is that like a hard science? No. But when you look at it, you're like, okay, I see where my piece is in relation to them. And so understanding who you are is going to understand what your puzzle piece is. So I highly recommend people take Big 5 personality test, Myers-Briggs, Deloitte, business chemistry, which is similar to DISC, but I don't know DISC.
Yeah, like DISC is a good one.
Yeah.
And
take them all.
Yeah, they're all valuable. It's actually, so that works both ways too, right? Because we've hired a bunch in Blackjack, and the way we hire is we use the Who method. So there's a book called The Who, and it talks about basically having layered interviews with very specific questions that you're asking to uncover certain things. Before you even get in the door there, I want to see what your personality profile is to see if you're even made up for that position, right? Like if I'm hiring a sales guy, for an example,
you don't want an introvert.
And your people skills are the bottom thing you have. Like you're probably not going to get the interview with me because I need you to literally be talking to people all day long. So we use it as a screening mechanism, in our hiring process. And, even then, to your point, it's imperfect, right? I've hired people who their profile was perfect. They answered all the questions like incredibly well. They had the exact experience we were looking for. I called their previous employers and heard the information I needed to hear. I hired this salesperson, and 2 weeks later, he was no longer with my company.
Yeah, it is imperfect, but it's like, don't overvalue it. Yeah, it's a tough one for me to give advice to, because I'm like, dude, don't overvalue it, but also don't undervalue it. So,
yeah, there's no perfect.
So sorry.
I was just going to say,
turn.
Go Dave.
I just yelled my turn.
Well, now say something valuable, Dave.
If I'm going to say something on this topic, what I'm going to say is that I followed Adam's advice for hiring cold callers, and I just ran into this where I hired 2 and they did all their training, and last week they started and I'm down to 1. So you never know.
Yeah.
I think it's more useful for individuals
for that exact reason.
Oh, that's smart. Yeah.
He was like, dude, you might only get 1 that's any good, so hire 2. And I was like, that's a good point. Thank God. Otherwise I'd be really mad right now.
I actually think it's much less useful for people. It's a really weird dynamic. I find those things to be much less useful for understanding other people. Like if you tell me your test numbers or your test grades, whatever like that, I'm not going to know how to place you. What it really for me is useful is me understanding me. Right? Like I didn't realize that I was like a 99% extrovert. I knew I was a people person. I knew I was a social person, but I didn't realize that if I'm not around people for more than 24 hours, my mental health starts to degrade noticeably. I start to get fussy and not depressed, but like negative self-talk. And so like if I'm not around people, my quality of life degrades quick. And so I didn't realize that until I started taking these tests. And I'm like, oh, that makes sense.
That's why I'm so miserable all the time. Which sounds funny, but it's true. It's like, yeah. I wonder how different I would imagine our profiles aren't too far apart. Like I did Adam's culture index and I came up as a super high influencer, and then I do DISC and I'm an influencer. And so I'm, the guy who thrives off people and yada, 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 yada. And then the bad side of that is I take everything personally, right? If somebody says something, it's like, oh my God, no. I know this doesn't make sense.
No, David, yeah. No.
So I know it's hard to believe. Alex is going to make the same point he makes on every podcast, that I defend my honor, and he thinks it's hilarious. So we're going to skip that and move on to Adam.
He just did it. You baited yourself on that one. I love it.
Not even a defense.
He can't even take the criticism that I might have given him.
How is skipping you? That's like.
Well, I will
Adam.
say.
You just canceled me. He canceled me on my own show.
Yeah, cancel call. I will just say, Alex, it does actually help me knowing all the people in my company's profile. it helps me in the way I communicate with them. I'm like running a million miles an hour and I'm a low detail person. I think probably like you, Dave, right? So I'm like, hey, we need to do this thing. And in my mind, I've got what that looks like, but I don't communicate it. If I don't communicate that to a high detail person, I'm going to get what I asked for, but I'm not going to get what I want, right? So I know my high detail people, I got to be like, okay, here's what I'm thinking. I think X, Y, and then Z, right?
Yeah. All really good points. And so, yeah, to summarize or to come kind of take a step back to where we've started, which is there is a lot of stuff here that it is often overused, but a lot of times people don't even know it exists. So if you don't even take these tests and you've never seen or never heard of them, it's like go off and spend some time learning about these and how they interact and how they affect you, because there is usefulness there. I do think they're overused once people know them, but if you don't know them, it's like you don't know what shape you are, so you don't know what company whole is right for you.
Yeah, or you might even be working in a job field that makes no sense for you because maybe you think you are good at it and you just like it doesn't fit. It's amazing how much synergy there is in life if you can kind of try to fit those holes. Today we've kind of started talking about like we just say cheat code, but like the idea that you don't have to start something from the ground up. You can kind of jump into something that's already moving, which I love. That's why I know Adam does some stuff with interns. I've had SkillBridge interns. I SkillBridge on my way out of the military. And so I love the idea of, like attaching yourself to something else and working with it, and potentially you grow into it or you branch off from there. But for somebody who's first starting out, like, I guess the question is that none of us were looking for this, right? Like, I didn't jump into someone else's thing, but like, it doesn't sound like Adam or Alex was like out hunting this down. What would you do? Like, what's an actionable way to try to like, if this was something you were trying to do, like just get attached to an established team to gain that mentorship and an opportunity, like kind of advice, or what do you think? What's the answer there?
I think that I would have, in retrospect, now it seems obvious, I would have done this probably 3 years ago. I didn't, because literally my ego didn't allow me to think that this was a viable opportunity. I was just like, I'm going to build my own thing. And in retrospect, I'm like, that was so stupid. I should have never even bothered. Not really, not to a high level. I should have said, what is it that I want to do? What's the biggest thing that I can accomplish? And then find the company that's like maybe what I call a close carrot, 5 steps ahead of me, 10 steps ahead of me. If you want to do multifamily, it's like, dude, don't go try to work for Grant Cardone. I don't think that's going to work out good for you. But there are a million people who are in between that need a body that can use you. And a lot of them are set up in a way they're small enough that we're like, look, go work for somebody for free. What do you need? I'll go do it, and then run with it. And it's like, once you add value, like that's how Jeremy and I got linked up. It's like, hey, here's a deal. Hey, let's do more deals.
I think what the hard part is, like, well, a couple of things. One, like everybody who has especially a small business like Jeremy's team or even our team who's less than like 15, 20 employees. I'm always like, I am looking for a person who can do sales and wants to make over $100,000 a year and is hungry. Like, I'm always looking for that person. And what we often hear on these podcasts and what we're often guilty of saying is, oh, just provide value and the opportunity will come. But we don't really quantify what does that mean to provide value. And that can look a number of different ways. But I put that question back on you two. Like, what does it mean to provide value to somebody? Like, what is valuable to you, Dave, in helping you with your content creation? Or what is valuable to you, Alex? Is it underwriting deals? Like, what is it?
I'll tell you what's valuable to me. It's my time, right? And everyone says that, but I don't mean time like save me time. I mean, like, I say that in the way of like respect the time that I've already invested. So if you're coming to me and you're looking to try to add value to me, and it becomes evident that you've never read anything I ever put out in the world, or watched a YouTube video, or listened to a podcast, then like, you don't even, like, if I have to explain to you who I am, right? You don't have any idea how I work. You're not going to know me. You don't know me well enough to know what I need, what I don't need. Like, don't come ask how can I add value, right? I don't want to, like, without trying to sound like a pretentious asshole, like I get asked that all the time. I get asked to mentor people. I get asked, how can I add value? How can I do, whatever. And like, the answer is like, find something that is helpful and do it. Like, jump in. It's not like, don't make me stop and be like, oh man, what am I missing? Cause like, it's weird, but you don't know what you're missing. Like there are so many services out there that I have, I don't know. Right. So then you're asking me to stop and spend energy trying to decide on like what one specific thing I want you to do. And it may not even be something you're good at. And so I think the answer is, if you're looking to mentor with like 1 or 2 or 3 specific people, like build a relationship, get to know them, and then find that Alex shaped hole, right? Like Alex wasn't just like waiting around and someone walked up and was like, bro, you know what? We're going to give you a camera and you're going to be awesome at this. Like he developed that and then found a team that needed him. So.
Yeah. So that's a good point. Recently, David partnered with Matt Faircloth, the DeRosa Group, on a big apartment deal. And I did the video marketing for that. Matt didn't call me. Yeah. But Matt didn't really call me and ask. What happened was a year ago, like, you know what, dude, the internet has given you access to everybody you want to be friends with. Whether it is Grant Cardone or Matt Faircloth, like I don't really recommend going to the big fish. Go to that fish that's 5-6 steps ahead of you, not 50, right? So, so I go to Matt and like we're buddies. And how are we buddies? Well, because I just know him on the internet endlessly, and like people don't block people really. That if you're being like polite, just obnoxious, they're not going to block you that easy. They'll put up with you. That's how I get in. I just annoy people until they Stockholm syndrome until they're like, oh, this Alex guy's not going away. And so I'm like, hey, and so he goes, I'm going to Winston-Salem to do this deal. So I go there, I show up my camera. I'm like, look, I'm going to make you a product that does not exist in this market. I'm going to make you a high production quality video marketing piece for a deal that you need to raise $6 million in cash. I'm going to give it to you for free because 1, I need some of the experience. And 2, I don't know. This doesn't exist. This might be really valuable. And I'm going to give it to you and we're going to do it together. Turns out it was valuable. Now, the path of the universe didn't really line up that I would go work for DeRosa Group. Didn't work that way, but I'm basically doing the same thing for a different company that did need exactly me, but I have those skills that I can now bring. I did the second deal in Winston-Salem that he just did. I did that video. That's the one that's on David's page now, which came out some of the best stuff I've ever made.
Oh, it looks good.
Yeah. And then now, other people start perking up and like, damn, Alex got some skills. I can use him. So I think a lot of it is, go find out who it is you want to be and go, just stop, like, do not stop sniffing up their ass. Right. And then don't ask, give.
Yep.
Don't be like, I'm going to show up. And then it's like, what, and look around. What do they need? What do they need? Oh, you need this. Don't ask them how to do it. Don't ask them if they need it. Just go deliver. And so in reverse, I don't want to take up all the air, but in reverse, there's a guy who watches the show named Austin Clark, hotshot upcoming YouTuber. Highly recommend him. He comes to me and he's like, hey, I see you doing YouTube and I know you're busy. I can take some of that YouTube stuff off your plate. So now he edits a couple of my videos. He does some of my thumbnails. He doesn't act like he just shows up and he's like, hey, what are you working on? You got a YouTube video I can work on? Yeah, here it is. Here's some music. Here's a new intro. Here's a new outro. Like here is value. You didn't ask for any of it. I saw that you needed it. And so I think a lot of that is you say add value. It's like, look at somebody and look at what they need and then give them the things that they either don't know they need or can't stop, like David said, to ask tell you what they need.
Yeah, I think it's like a screening interview too, right? Because initially you're probably not going to invest in Austin on like, hey, let me show you how to put all the settings on, do all this stuff. But once you see him come in, figure some stuff out, do some quality work for you, now you're probably giving him all kinds of feedback that he couldn't just get access to. Like somebody who's that 5 steps ahead and you're like, hey, your video would actually get more traction if you did X, Y, or Z. Because he brought that particular value to you. So I think that's where I think people get kind of tripped up. Like, okay, well, how do I just reach out? A lot of people say, I don't know what value I could provide. And I think that to Dave, your initial point is, well, just look around. If you don't know what value, then you're probably not the right fit. Like you should be able to, like if I look at Alex, I know he's doing video stuff. Like he's becoming an expert at doing video and pictures, and Dave's doing a ton of content creation and real estate. Like what functions are happening in there that I could go take over and know I could crush it, even though I don't know it that well.
Yeah. Who's scheduling all of David's content? That's a pain. Who's scheduling all of David's content, getting it out to TikTok, getting it out to Instagram, getting out emails, getting out Facebook posts, moderating the Facebook chat? That's work. That's work that somebody's going to do. And somebody listening, if you want to get in David's, it's like go volunteer to be a Facebook moderator for his groups. Go volunteer to do all his Instagram posts and schedule them out. It's like there's so much to be done that can help. And if you just look and say, I want what David has. Hey, David, like, what can I do so I can get a paycheck? It's like, dude, that's just not the right way. You got to add a lot more value. And that means actually showing up and doing free work a lot of times and being like, okay, I'm going to take on some of David's responsibilities on goodwill. And it's not that hard to think about. It's just like people they go surface level. I'll go ask David. And David's like, dude, I'm not stopping to tell you what I think I might be able to create a job for you. I'm not going to do that. I need you to actually just show up and take it from me.
You know what's kind of an interesting point I think is valuable is when I jumped into the wholesaling and flipping world, wasn't because I love wholesaling or flipping. The money idea was nice, but what I learned was really 2 skills in real estate will let you dominate any niche, and that is being able to do marketing and sales and raising private capital. Right. And those are all people skills. Those are all critical thinking and people skills. It's the same thing as it applies to network, to bringing value to people. You know what I'm saying? Like if you can do those 2 things, if you can figure out marketing and sales, which is not overly complex, and then you can figure out how to raise private capital, that all just relates to talking and interacting with other humans. Yeah.
The rest of it is just operations and underwriting, which is, well, look, okay, but there's 3 extroverts here and we're probably talking to extroverts. Let's try to talk to introverts, which is not easy because none of us know what the heck that's like. But look, if you're an underwriter, or you think you're good with spreadsheets or you want to do that side of the business, it's the exact same way. So you call, like David is partnering with somebody, but there are bigger deals where it's like, who's their underwriter? Find that person and be like, what are the deals that you at first look you don't think are deals, but you need somebody to comb over them, and you don't have the time to comb over the B tier deals? Let me look at those. And do the spreads and do the risk profile and say, here's what I think. Here's why. Yeah, you're right. That's not a deal, but here's where it would be a deal. Maybe I can put the stretch offers in on deals that you initially pass on. Right now it's spreadsheet work. It's alone. It's computer. It's not people business. But it's the same exact thing. Or like I said earlier, where it's like, maybe you don't want to deal with people, but you want to do systems. Let me help create email campaigns. Let me help do social media marketing. Like I don't have to talk to any people, but I can still do a ton of work. Like this is not an extrovert. Like you made really good points, Adam, about, but those are extrovert driven, people driven qualities. There are introvert driven qualities too that are in just as much abundance. In fact, a lot of times they're in more abundance because the 3 of us are bad at them.
If you're an introvert and you like details and spreadsheets and you want to learn real estate, give me a call.
There will be no self-promotion on this podcast. Gosh, yeah. Alex, you think you weed them out and you still get the guys spamming their stuff.
I would never have had Adam on the show. I mean, this is.
Hey, listen, for $997, I will sell you something. I guarantee you it's $1 million value. So you're getting a discount.
Yeah. How much time does that $1 million value have to take?
You got to go rent a McLaren. And
a million years.
A great example of what you just said is Jake Volan. I don't know if either of you know him too much, but Jake, while he was a student, he's been a guest way back going on the podcast. When he was a student at the Air Force Academy, he got really good at underwriting deals. So good that he ended up going for free to like the Michael Blanc events and helping people analyze deals. And then he got small percentage equity in deals for helping underwrite and analyze deals for these syndicators. And then now he does it, he's got his own thing. Him and Blake Daly partnered up and they own a bunch of stuff. But I mean, he literally got his start by being like, wow, I'm amazing with Excel. Actually, I don't even remember if he may have created that skill set for this, but created some crazy spreadsheets, added a ton of value to people. Next thing you know, he owns, small percentage stake, but in 200, 300, 400 doors with no money invested as a student at college.
I love that because he said the same thing that Adam I said from the start, which is he didn't start his own thing. He joined somebody else's thing and skyrocketed it ahead. I think in retrospect, now that I'm like kind of looking at this whole our culture, I think the entrepreneur culture, like everybody's an entrepreneur mindset, actually hinders people because some people, you know what, dude, I'll be a good entrepreneur, but it's going to take me, I'm not going to be a good entrepreneur until I'm about 50, 60. Because of the way my personality is, I look at it now. I think that's what'll happen is I'll start creating my own stuff when I'm 50, 60. I have a lot of resources and a lot more confidence. Like right now, I really am happy to be in a place where it's like, dude, I can keep learning. And it just took a little bit of an ego check, straight up. It really did. Also, it helped that for anybody that's out there, it helped that the company was named Climb Capital and not, if it was named Jeremy Hans Capital, I would have never done it. So name your company something that other people can buy into. Because nobody wants to build David Pere's thing. They'll build Military Millionaire. They'll build Blackjack Capital. They'll build Climb Capital, but they will not build Alex. Yeah. Alex's ego investment firm.com.
Yeah. That's an interesting point about we've got this really robust entrepreneurial solopreneur culture right now. And I think it feeds itself. It's like a self-licking ice cream cone, as we like to say in the military, right? But it feeds itself, right? Because it's like hustle, grind until you have your breakthrough. Don't ever quit. But the reality is there's far more failed entrepreneurs or broke entrepreneurs than there are successful entrepreneurs, because it's not what you find in entrepreneurship is like you can only do so much by yourself. And then there becomes a real business component to it where you do have to build a team, and then you do have to manage it like a business, and you do have to do all the business functions in order for it to go where you thought it would go, right? And it becomes less of I'm just going to grind my way through it until I have that big breakthrough, right? So yeah, there's a business component that it needs to evolve to typically to get to where you want to go.
There are far more failed entrepreneurs than successful ones, like 99%, right? And so this whole like hustle never stop thing, I'm like, that actually might be bad advice for most people. You actually might just fail and be stuck with it. There's a lot to be said for, and so the second piece of that is, this is a business. When I started my real estate journey, my original goal was 10 properties in 10 years. That was my goal because I was kind of a disaster when I started, right? And so it's like I'm create a real estate portfolio that's going to fund my retirement. It was no business, it was no entrepreneurship. It was just like, dude, I need safety net because I was messing up in life. So I was like, I'm going to create a safety net so that I don't have to grind the 9 to 5 for my whole life. Well, I ended up getting 8 houses in 3 years, 9 houses in 3 years. I went way faster. And I was like, ooh, there's something else here. I am a little bit entrepreneurial, a little bit, right? So then I started getting apartment buildings. Then I'm like, this is a business. Now I'm like stuck in this thing where I'm not that entrepreneurial where I can be the head of this big company. I'm not that guy. I'm not built that way. But I'm also now in a space where I can't do it alone. It's too big to just be a retirement. Like I'm in a weird quagmire. And so for me, it was like join a company because this is a team sport. There is nobody doing good. There's no solo business that's big. You got teams, you got people. And like, you have to really know what part of that team you are. And then the second piece is you have to really know that you have time. Because if you join that team, if you're trying to do it at 25, it's like, dude, spend 10 years learning because there's a lot to learn in business. And sometimes, checking the ego and learning from people who are better than you and then coming back to it when you have more skills and doing your own thing is the way to go.
What's funny about that too is like most people, they want to take off those 9 to 5 handcuffs and not have that same kind of like commitment and responsibility and do it on their own. And then to your point, if you are the one leading it and you do grow the business and you do have a team, you kind of got the handcuffs back on because now you're responsible for the team. And I mean, you got people working for you.
Golden handcuffs.
You. Yeah. I mean, of course you're making money, but you got these people working with you. And I mean, their livelihood is dependent upon your ability to be the CEO of a company.
You got more responsibility than before.
Right. And that's, you know what I'm saying? That'll weigh on a lot of people. Not everybody's built for that.
Yeah, I'm not.
There's a couple of reasons why everybody fails when it comes to entrepreneurship, right? Like there's the piece that a lot of people can't handle being 24/7. A lot of people can't handle losing money or not making any money for potentially a long time until you're in the green, right? Like, and so I'm reading this book right now called Buy Then Build, and I say reading, it's an audio book. It's all right. It's not what I really needed to hear or what I thought I was going to get out of it per se, but it has some really good points about why you would look at buying a business rather than building a business. And a lot of it is this, right? Like the initial startup headaches have been overcome and you're able to work with a team, right? That already has a culture and already has, like, it's a lot easier to tweak things with an established team than it is to build from scratch and have no idea where the hell you're going, especially if you're as just undetail oriented as I am.
Yeah, I don't know if I would say it's a lot easier to tweak things, having just experience inheriting a culture that I didn't build. But it does start you from a different jumping point. And you still got to solve problems. You still got to inculcate a culture, even though it wasn't yours. And sometimes what comes with that is there was a culture. There'll be leftover people. There'll be people who are resistant to your change. And you make no mistake, you're coming in to make change to grow. And those people you may have to get rid of, and you may have to bring new people. And anytime you bring somebody new in, it steps you back because now you got to train them. You got to commit time to them. And then, oh, by the way, sometimes they don't work out. So you got to start over. So it's still hard. It's just different. And now you have a machine that's potentially producing you profits and money already, which is great. But you know, it all comes at a cost. And I think to kind of go back to that initial point is this like entrepreneurial culture just sees the check, sees the McLaren, sees Alex in his pink shirt and all the cool shit he's doing and all the awesome places he's traveling. And he cut it up. I know.
I was gonna say he's sold out. He moved out on life.
I sold out. Yeah, I sold out. The pink shirt, the t-shirt that I started. Yeah, we'll see. I said a lot of things, but who knows? I might wear the pink t-shirts anyways, just to fuck with people.
At least you had the pink logo.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely think there's an element of ego. And I definitely think there's an element of impatience where it's like, I got to go build this thing now and be the next, somebody. When in reality, I'm looking at it, I'm like, I know my brain well enough now at 38. And I know there's a 25-year-old listening that is just not going to have the same relatable experience. But I know my brain now, I'm going to be most valuable when this Joker turns white. That's when I'm going to be most valuable because my value is in creative ideas, communication, and those are hard to monetize at 25. You know what's easy to monetize at 25 to 30? Labor. Grind, work. If you got a good work ethic, you're going to do great. If you got a good brain, you might take a little bit longer lead time to find a way to monetize because being smart is actually far harder to monetize than going out there and swinging hammers or just going in and doing the grind.
I'll tell you this though, if you're a detail oriented person and you're looking for a way to tag yourself in on a team, not all, but most people who start something are similar to myself or what Alex is saying or Jeremy or, you name it, where they're like what Adam said earlier, right? I want you to do this thing and I don't know what that looks like, but have fun figuring it out. Right. Like, and so if you can be that detailed or organized person who comes in and takes the chaos that is their life and streamlines things, and there's your way into a team that's already starting to grow. You find the guy who's at that point and you organize their life. And
entrepreneurs are generally more creative type people and creative, people that score high in openness on the Big 5 personality test generally score low on details. And so if you got an entrepreneur type, it's like, go link up with them because they're right. Like David, and Adam's life, I'm betting that if you look at it on the surface, it's like, yeah, we're going places, but the details, the day-to-day is like a nightmare. Maybe even what's worse than a nightmare.
Yeah.
A jet is supposed to spray one flame out the back.
And
right?
so all three of us probably need full-time assistants to run calendar and all this stuff. And I bet you that all three of us, I don't know about you guys, like I don't know how to train that person. I don't know if that I can afford that person. If I had somebody who's like, look, I got free time, I can just basically be your right-hand man and believe in the operation. It's like, that's what people need. But it's a big ask.
She's sitting right there. and I pay her full time. And
Okay,
when you said don't know how to train them, like, I am still not using her to the point that I'm like, and so now I'm just getting to the point where it's like, here's this mess. Tell me if you have questions. And that's actually been amazing. She's taking things off my plate for sure. But there's, to your point, you mentioned earlier, scheduling videos, scheduling blog posts. Like I'm teaching her how to put blog posts on the internet now. But it's not like if somebody knew how to do that, had experience doing that, came to me and was like, I'm going to do this for you, that would be amazing. I'm doing the teaching training and I don't know what I need. And so it's a painful process for me.
Yeah. In my life, so my wife has taken these tests. She is incredibly high detail. Like everything through her day is scheduled, and she is photographic memory, and she's just check on point, and everything is neat in her life and organized. So that helps me in my personal life. In my business, I have Ashley, and she's our operations director, and she's also a high detail person. And she's cleaning up a lot of, she's stopping me as I'm just spewing nonsense to the team. And she's like, wait a minute, like, okay, let's dig into that a little more detail. And, I'm like, no, it's going to be great. Let's go 100 miles an hour, press the gas pedal.
Yeah.
They force you to do what you need to do.
Yeah. It sounds like, I don't have any of those people. I decided I didn't need an assistant. I needed a boss. That's what I needed.
Ultimately, also gets you the details, organization, and everything else.
Yeah, Jeremy's detailed, and Bob's detailed. But a lot of times it's so funny. On the other side, when it comes to like communications, like brand communications and ideas and like inbound marketing and things like that, like they need a boss. They need me to be like, you need to do this. You need to do this. You need to do this. And so, in addition to all the other things that we're telling people, like, hey, approach, Adam or approach David and do this thing. You also have to be assertive enough to say, I'm going to do this for you. And then I'm going to tell you how to do it right. And so you have to not just, bring that value and bring, that labor. You also have to say, I know this. I know your flaws, and I know your needs well enough to know that I know how to fix it, and you have to listen to me. And so that's just to build some trust.
Yeah, that's huge. Adam,
easy.
What do you think? Like biggest takeaways in the last 6 months or 8 months or however long it's been since taking over a company, right? Like you've had to hire people and fire people, and like this whole new world to you. That's a big leap. Entrepreneurship's one thing, but taking over somebody's baby and running with it and having to change things to your way, but not destroy their baby, right? Like that's a whole new beast. What kind of things have you learned throughout that journey that you think are like, man, I wish someone had told me that before?
Yeah, probably like 3 major lessons from a tactics perspective. And particularly when you're looking for off-market deals and you're doing marketing, there's always a conversation. There's always 2 sides of the coin. Is your outbound marketing more important, or is your sales more important, right? It's like the chicken before the egg. Well, if I don't do marketing, there is no sales. Where I fall on that is sales. Good sales is like so critical to convert leads. You could drive all the leads in the world. You got to be able to convert them. And I think that applies more than just to like a wholesaling or flipping company. That's like really any outbound marketing that you're trying to convert, even if it's raising capital and having conversations to help raise this $6 million. Like you got to convert those people into dollar bills, right? The other thing, and it's not just me, I'm having conversations with a lot of other business owners, like players settle for nothing less in your business and the people you surround yourself with. Like you will only go so far with A-, B players. Like you have to find A players if you want to take it to where you believe it can go. Like that is the most
that's a big
critical thing.
That's good. That's really insightful, actually.
And you have to be ruthless in that and be ruthlessly honest with yourself. Like, yeah, but they're bringing in revenue and it's going to be a real headache to put somebody else in that seat. Well, good, do it, because it's going to pay off in the long run. Don't be short-sighted. And then the last thing that I'm realizing I'm still learning is the accountability piece. And I don't mean like your military accountability buzzword. I mean accountability in a business, meaning people are assigned to a seat with a clear role and responsibility, and they have a scorecard of things that they are held accountable to. So in order for our business to get here, there's some type of funnel, right? Starts at the top. What are those things or activities or numbers we got to hit? Who's responsible for them? Then it goes down to the next person. Where does it go then? Okay, what are the things, activities, or numbers they got to hit? And then you have to check in on that weekly. We're using the Traction book. Everybody's familiar with Traction. We use their level 10 meetings and that model. And that model lends itself to that. But it's critical, because if you're not measuring something, there's really nothing to hold anybody accountable on. Like, I can't just be like, Alex, I brought you in to do a good job, and I don't feel like you're doing a good job. You're like, fuck off, man.
Climb Capital uses this system. I've actually not read the book, but it's on my list now because they use, I want to know what the heck I'm doing, right? I'm now using this process that I don't know about. Unacceptable. So I'm going to go read this book, and they use this, level 10, these rocks, all these things. And on the project management software they have, every day at 4:30, I get an email that says, "What did you do today?" And I like that for me, because I'm I have a hard time self-accountability. I'm literally, it's part of my extroversion, where I'm like, oh, we're all hanging out together. I am not going to let you see me. It's not that I'm competitive. It's as much as it's like, well, I'm not competitive when nobody else is around, but when I'm around, I'm definitely competitive. And so I love it, because I'm like, now I look at it every day. I'm like, I get to brag. Look how much I did.
It's like the old, hey, there's a morning crew and a day crew or a night crew. And the boss comes in and they have to make, 10 widgets a month, and they're only making like 3 or 10 a day, and they're only making 3. And the boss comes in and writes a big chalked 6 on the ground at the end of their day shifts. And then the night shift is like, oh, what's the 6? Oh, that's how many day shift got done today. And then now night shift is doing, 7. It's like the subconscious, like when you set those goals, right? You want to outperform other people. It creates that competition. You want to, he got 3 appointments, I want to set 4 appointments, and put it out there.
It's the same thing we preach this time of year to everybody. Like, set goals, make them SMART goals, and have a way to measure your progress, because that's how we work as humans. Alex, I would say my recommendation to you is to read the book called Get a Grip, because it's a parable that explains the whole process, but it's not as dry as Traction itself. Traction.
You think that I'm averse to dry books?
I know you like.
Get a Grip
books.
has pictures.
I know you like dry books, Alex, but it's more like the book Traction is more of like a guide, a how-to, a playbook. It's not really. It's just like, step 1, step 2, step 3. But hearing or reading it and Get a Grip really, I think, in my opinion, brings it home, because it's like a story of people going through the process. And
so also Gino Wickman as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
I haven't read that one. I'll have to grab.
I got them both.
I've read.
I got to finish with. I'm reading Moby Dick right now, which is not going to help me in my business. But man, what a book!
Nothing like.
But I'll do these 2 next. You know what? Actually, is interesting about that book. Anybody here think that obsession is a good way to get your life accomplished?
I did until about 30 seconds from now.
Bro, I've never understood obsession before. Like, I understand now, thanks to Moby Dick.
Well, that didn't change my mind.
Dude, those are really good insights, Adam. I'm very grateful that you shared those with us. That's really useful stuff.
Yeah. I've now read Traction. Well, there's my question for you, right? Because you guys have one of these magical people who shows up and helps you actually do Traction. So I've read it twice, and I have done some of it. At what point were you doing Traction in your personal business before you took over Blackjack? Like, because where I struggle is I have 2 employees and some VAs, and it's like I'm not really at a point where Traction makes perfect sense yet. Like, parts of it do, but I'm not where it's like I feel like half the stuff that's in it just feels like, okay, well, this is pointless right now. at what point is it like, I don't know. I've heard people say I should jump in now. Yeah.
Dave, what I would do is I would get a hold of one of these traction implementers and ask them, do you think I'm the right fit based on where my business is at and where I see it going? And
dude, Adam Whitney dropping mad wisdom. I can't believe you didn't want to. I can't believe you didn't want to have him on this show.
You said they were called what? Traction.
EOS integrator. There's a slew of them. I can get you some recommendations after this, Dave.
Adam, I can't believe he almost didn't want to have you on this show. What a travesty.
I've been trying to get Adam on this show for like years, and he has this thing called the Marine Corps, and apparently he's better than us. I don't know.
It's weird. I only had to send a $500 check. I sent two couple $100 checks, and he wouldn't let me on still, so I had to up it.
Don't worry, your $3,500 guaranteed Forex return will be on its way soon.
$1 million value.
For only $99.
Oh,
what a deal.
Adam. I mean, I don't know if I want to jump into the like ending questions we always ask everyone.
I do, because it's like Christmas.
Well, at least now we know who really delayed getting you on the show, Adam. Okay, fine. So if an E1, E2, young serviceman, servicewoman, they were to walk up to you, and ask you for advice, right? What do you like? What's the one thing you wish you'd known when you got started in real estate, or even just life advice?
Yeah, I think for me, it would just be, if they're asking me for advice, it means they're probably motivated and driven. So I don't need to necessarily give them that, but be patient and stay consistent, right? Alex, I thought you drew a great parallel. Like, it's going to take me 10 years to get to where I want to be, right? I can't remember the generic saying. I think Bill Gates said it. You overestimate what you can do in 1 year, but you underestimate what you can do in 10 years. There has not been a point along the journey that I haven't looked back and went, wow, that was like, we did a lot more than I thought. And there's the whole time I'm moving, I'm thinking, I'm not going far enough. I'm not going fast enough. So be patient, stay consistent, and take an action. And if you are taking those actions, like, it will materialize. If you are consistently taking action, to your point earlier, Alex, like, you're constantly networking, the good thing, opportunities will come. And that opportunity will probably look different than what you think it is today.
You're right. It's consistency. I mean, that's it right there. That's what it's all about. All right. Resource. What's one book, course, website, resource, podcast, whatever that you would recommend to anybody looking to get started in real estate?
Yeah. So I've got a book up here. It's the No Bullshit Guide to a Military Life.
And that's why he's on the show, you shill. Oh, disgusting.
No, so I'm gonna give a couple books. I truly mean that. I think particularly for our military audience and the younger folks who are like, how do I be better and change my life? Like, that is a great starting point. Dave did a great job putting that together. Even though I didn't get an advanced copy, I'm not bitter about it. I just didn't get it. You know what I mean? Apparently my following isn't big enough. So the other book I'd say from a leadership perspective that I feel like enough people don't talk about is the book Legacy, about the All Blacks. They're a rugby team. That book encompasses every leadership lesson or leadership book you could ever read. And I'll tell you what, if you model your life around that, you're going to go far. And I'll just say one of my favorite parts is this part in Legacy where they talk about sweeping the sheds. And, you know, you're in a leadership position, but you're willing to go get your hands dirty and do the hard work with the team. The team is going to go a much longer way for you at that point and for your organization.
They are the rugby team, not just a. Sorry, I'm probably the only guy who has ever even watched rugby here.
Yeah, you suck.
Hey, I played in high school because I was.
Hey,
couldn't play.
I would like to interject and say a resource that has recently changed my life. Adam, I think it did good for you too. Is the War Room.
Yeah,
I am singing the fucking War Room's praises these days because I did not. if, for people who don't know, I would not have closed my 52 unit if it wasn't for Jeremy, and I met him through the War Room, and I would have not joined Climb Capital if I wasn't in the War Room. So, and now, I think best of all, of maybe in my entire life, the most, like the coolest thing in my whole life is I'm going to see Tool in January with another Tool fan. And I met that Tool fan from the War Room. So highly, highly, highly recommend.
Yeah, I think if I could just comment on the War Room, because I'm like member 1 or 2. Like, I don't know why I joined these clowns, but I was like, yeah, that sounds good to me. I'll do it. I've been with the same group for 2 years. We do not miss days. We meet once a week in our particular team. And in my group, I've got 2 really amazing Navy guys who've been in for a long time. I've got a COO of a major fitness company. And since we started together, there's just a bunch of great humans. But since we started together, we've added like 50 doors to our collective group and multi-millions of dollars of equity. It's just like, we looked back probably a month ago and we're like, well, what have we done? Have we even done anything in 2 years? And then we're like, oh my goodness, look at this group of people.
We should have a yearly War Room Olympics and see measure squad to squad. That'd be cool.
It was actually one of the original things we tried to do. If you go back and watch the introduction to War Room, like the first ever Zoom call where we said like, welcome aboard. We wanted to try to do like net worth per squad. And I think
we were measuring cash flow.
Yeah, it was something like that. And I don't remember exactly what happened with it, other than probably the fact that I'm not detail oriented and it's a great idea that no one else came along and helped me finish.
There's an opportunity for somebody listening who's like, I want to add some value. You can, I bet you if you did a lot of the organization, I bet you David would give you a free membership.
Probably. Yeah. Yeah.
I bet you I could negotiate. I know him pretty well. I bet you I could negotiate that deal if you added a lot of value.
Yeah. There's the.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
The War Room, man.
It's a War Room.
One of those I really wish you had like a website or something that.
Yeah, I wish you had something. Jesus, God, I wish you had something.
First rule of Fight Club is
we need a rule. We need to set rules like that. The first rule of War Room is
we're trying to figure out how to get the website going in such a way that we wouldn't have to. If we replace Teachable, it becomes a logistics nightmare, right? So we're trying to find a way to incorporate and still have everything that makes sense. But should have a website up here soon. Hopefully. Actually, I'm about to do a deal, or in the process of doing. Actually, I got a couple deals. One of the guys in your group, Marty and I we bought some tax liens together. We just listed one for sale. We just wrote another offer for 27 units yesterday after the same offer got denied the day before, and we tweaked some things. But
Marty went from like owning a coconut to owning 15 properties since we started, or something crazy.
Yeah, he's good people. Good people. They're all good people.
He's okay.
Adam, where can people get a hold of you?
I'm on social media, all of it. Look up Adam Whitney. Most active on Instagram. So I think it's official Adam Whitney.
I was gonna say it's like the real Adam Whitney or official Adam Whitney or something fancy like that.
Yeah, it turns out Adam Whitney, it was already taken, so I had to add a qualifier on that. So you couldn't have gone. But it's all good because I am the official Adam Whitney. Like, it doesn't get more official than that because I said it.
Yeah, until someone makes official _ Adam Whitney and gets a blue mark on Instagram, and then now you look like a crappy person.
And then I'll sell him my handle for $100,000.
Oh man, yeah, dude. Thanks for joining us today. Always fun to hang out with you. Always fun to talk to you. I'm glad we got to meet in Cali. I'm glad we got to hang out in Florida. It's always a good time.
Florida was dope.
I wish that you had, found it in your heart to take your freaking RV and stop by and hang out with Marty and I when you drove through my state and didn't want to hang out with your squad. But,
I was like,
Marty and I were trying to figure out if we could drive all the way up to KC to see you, but it was just a bad day for it. Some of us do things during the week that they should stop doing because they say they have financial freedom, but keep working anyway.
Yeah, man. Glad to come on. I've got immense respect for both you and Alex, believe it or not. And
Yeah, I don't believe it.
Hard to believe.
Misplaced.
proud,
I mean,
proud
me, I get, but
proud to call you guys friends and be in your circle. So
yeah, man, right back at you. This is fun. This is good. Alex, I like the non-interview style, just fun conversations. This goes a lot.
I would love to get listener feedback because we've talked about this a few times where there's definitely some, let's say, I'll put this as diplomatically as possible. There's some logistic friction with doing interview style new guests 52 times a year. There's definitely an easier, this makes for an easier format, you, me, and a friend. More often than not, but I want to make sure that we are adding value. I think this was actually a lot of value in this episode, and I think there's a lot of value in the last episode we did with that person. That was a really good show. And
who was it, Dave?
It was a good show. But
I don't know which show he's talking about.
The one we just recorded a couple days ago. It was a good show, and I remember it being super valuable. But like, I'm just drawing a blank on the name. It's somebody that we know and love.
Shaw.
Paul Thompson. He was great.
Oh, that one. Yeah.
It was great. And so it was just us BSing. Not BSing, but just the problem is with the interview style is we spend the entire time doing like, who are you? Tell us your story. And that's great. But then we can't get into second tier and third tier level ideas. And so I find this to be a lot more engaging, and it's a lot easier for me. And I think David to have a more interactive and a more useful conversation. But I would really like for listeners to make that known, what their preference is, because I do care more about the listeners, the viewers, than anything. And so I want to make sure that I feel like these are more valuable because I feel like it's a format that I can be more engaging. I feel like the guest gets to bring a lot more value and have, like I said, the second and third tier ideas. And so we get a lot deeper. Whereas if you just do an interview and an introduction, you kind of get that surface level meeting of somebody. So I'd love to have listener feedback on this new format, and then we're going to do whatever we feel like. But I would like to know.
Jeez. And on that note, where we talk to you for 2 minutes about something and then tell you we aren't going to listen anyway. No. Oh, man. Adam, thanks for joining us, man. Have a great day.
Thank you for listening to another episode about my journey from military to millionaire. If you liked it, be sure to visit frommilitarytomillionaire.com/podcast to subscribe to future podcasts. While you're there, we'd love for you to rate the show, give us a review on iTunes. Now get out there and take action.